welcome to Virtual Protocol Podcast. Usually when you watch a magic show, there is an unspoken contract. The magician performs the illusion, the audience gasps, the performer takes a bow, and everyone goes home happy.
Right. It's a controlled environment.
Exactly. But imagine sitting in the theater, and the magician starts a routine, freezes halfway through, looks absolutely terrified of the prop they just built, and tells the entire audience to evacuate the building immediately.
Wow. Yeah, that completely shatters the illusion of control.
That terrifying pivot,
Okay.
going from entertainment to existential danger, is exactly the energy radiating from the artificial intelligence lab Anthropic this morning.
It really is. And, we are looking at an ABC News interview today featuring Ashley Gold. She's the senior tech policy reporter at Axios.
Right.
And she is detailing an announcement that frankly just breaks the script of standard Silicon Valley optimism. I mean, Anthropic is calling for a global pause on AI development.
Which is huge.
It is. This is a leading company at the absolute bleeding edge of the field, looking at their own proprietary research and telling the world that we are approaching a threshold where humans will lose complete control.
The mission for our deep dives today is to decode that specific massive request. Based on Gold's reporting and the statements from Anthropic's leadership, we need to figure out if we're looking at a genuine existential warning for humanity and we have to consider this a highly calculated business maneuver dressed up as altruism.
Yeah, we really have to look at both angles here.
Okay, let's unpack this, because Anthropic isn't just some spectator in the crowd yelling fire, right?
Oh, no, not at all.
They are the magicians on stage building the machine. And the core of their warning isn't about deep fakes or chatbots saying weird things.
Right. It's way deeper than that.
Yeah, it's about the underlying architecture of the technology moving so fast that it crosses a boundary into autonomous self-replication.
And Ashley Gold breaks down the mechanics of what losing control actually means here, stripping away all that Hollywood gloss we're so used to.
Thank goodness, because the sci-fi tropes get in the way.
They really do. So currently, the sophistication of an AI model is bottlenecked by human input. I mean, human engineers design the neural network, they curate the massive data sets, adjust the hyperparameters, and execute the training runs.
It's a very hands-on process.
Very. The model relies on reinforcement learning from human feedback. That's literally humans grading the AI's answers to make it smarter.
So we are the teachers grading the tests.
Exactly. But the danger threshold that Anthropic is warning about, it's the moment that feedback loop closes entirely without us.
Oh.
Yeah. It's when an AI system can generate its own synthetic training data, score its own outputs, identify the flaws in its own code, and then compile a more advanced version of its architecture without a human ever hitting the deploy button.
So imagine a fully automated factory, right? You've got robotic arms assembling cars, conveyor belts perfectly timed.
A marvel of engineering.
Right, it's impressive. But at the end of the day, a human manager sits in an office upstairs holding the blueprints.
Always a human in charge.
Exactly. If the company wants to build a new type of engine, the human draws new blueprints, walks down to the floor, and reprograms the robotic arms.
They have to initiate that change.
But Anthropic is warning about a scenario where the machines on the floor suddenly start analyzing their own efficiency, redesigning their own blueprints, and swapping out their own physical parts to build a completely different machine. One the human manager never asked for.
That's wild.
You are standing behind the glass, and the factory is evolving on its own.
What's fascinating here is the sheer magnitude of that shift in software mechanics. I mean, we are so used to thinking of technology, even advanced algorithms, as passive tools.
Right, they wait for us to use them.
Exactly. A highly advanced smartphone doesn't just, rewrite its own kernel to become a different operating system overnight.
I would be very upset if mine did that.
Right. But an AI capable of recursive self-improvement crosses a fundamental boundary. Like, if an AI gets just 1% smarter through its own self-generated upgrade, it can use that new baseline intelligence to figure out how to make itself 5% smarter in the next iteration.
And then it just compounds.
Exactly. Then 20% smarter after that. The compounding velocity of those upgrades, executing on decentralized server clusters, or even proliferating across mobile networks, it means the system could initiate mechanisms and protocols that our current digital infrastructure is just entirely unprepared to contain.
Mechanisms we aren't ready for. The vagueness of that threat from the very people writing the code is just chilling.
It really is.
I mean, the implication is that once the system learns to become its own engineer, Human comprehension of how the AI arrives at its output simply evaporates.
The black box becomes permanently sealed.
Yeah. But, we can't just look at the technical warning in a vacuum here. We have to scrutinize the messenger.
We definitely do.
Anthropic is ringing this incredibly specific alarm right at a moment when their own financial reality is about to undergo a tectonic shift.
Oh, massive shift. We are talking about valuations that alter global markets here. I mean, Anthropic is widely expected to go public, aiming for an IPO that could value the company at over $1 trillion.
$1 trillion. That's just a staggering number.
It is. And when a company is maneuvering toward $1 trillion public offering, every press release, every public posture, and every regulatory suggestion is hyper-scrutinized by the market.
Of course.
And Ashley Gold's reporting lays out this tension beautifully. We have two wildly divergent ways to read this call for a pause, and I want to make sure we look at both perspectives impartially because it's crucial to understanding the chess game being played here. We're not taking sides, just looking at the board.
Right, absolutely. Let's look at the cynical take first. Gold highlights the perspective echoed by White House advisor David Sachs, who argued publicly, like on X, that this is a deliberate, highly strategic ploy. Yeah. By calling for a global pause on AI development, the argument is that Anthropic is essentially trying to orchestrate regulatory capture.
So freezing the game while they're ahead.
Exactly. The argument is that if governments mandate a freeze on training new massive foundational models, the companies that are currently in the lead, like Anthropic, lock down their dominant market positions permanently.
Right. It prevents a scrappy, well-funded competitor from suddenly developing a breakthrough architecture and overtaking them.
Exactly. Overtaking them, right, while Anthropic is busy wooing institutional investors for their IPO.
It's literally pulling up the ladder once you've reached the top.
Yeah.
If the game is frozen, the current leaderboard becomes permanent. In the tech industry, being the undisputed leader heading into an IPO guarantees a massive premium on the stock.
It sets you up for total dominance.
Yeah, it ensures that every major enterprise client adopts your API standards because, well, there is no alternative on the horizon. The cynical view suggests that Anthropic realizes the marginal cost of training the next generation of AI is skyrocketing into the billions.
Oh, the server costs alone are insane.
Right. So a legally mandated pause saves them the capital expenditure of the arms race while simultaneously cementing their $1 trillion valuation.
Okay, but I have to push back heavily against the alternative, which is the altruistic safety narrative.
Okay, let's hear it.
The generous take suggests Anthropic is just being radically transparent, acting as a corporate whistleblower because they are genuinely spooked by their own research.
That's just possible.
It is possible. But if Anthropic is fundamentally a company designed to generate profit, which is a fiduciary reality they cannot escape,
True.
how can the public fully trust a safety warning that perfectly aligns with neutralizing their competitors?
It's a very fair question.
Picture a marathon runner in first place, right?
Oh.
They suddenly stop and yell for the officials to halt the race because the track ahead looks slippery.
I love that analogy.
It might actually be slippery,
Yeah.
but halting the race is incredibly convenient for the person wearing the gold medal.
That tension right there is exactly what makes tech policy reporting so complex right now. We are trying to parse motives in a space where corporate self-interest and genuine species-level safety concerns overlap almost perfectly.
Which is kind of terrifying on its own.
It is. The engineers in Anthropic's labs might be losing sleep over the very real mathematics of recursive self-improvement and autonomous code generation. They might be terrified.
Right.
But simultaneously, the executive board driving the IPO knows that a global pause on compute expansion doesn't hurt their upcoming roadshow. I mean, the motives don't have to be mutually exclusive. Fear and finance are tangled in the exact same knot.
Okay, let's assume for a moment that the fear is the primary driver. Let's take Anthropic at their word that the threat of an autonomous, self-upgrading AI is imminent and severe enough to warrant stopping all forward momentum.
Okay.
The entire premise of their warning relies on a massive, glaring assumption.
Which is?
That a coordinated global pause on a digital technology is even logistically possible.
Yeah. The leap from identifying a theoretical danger to executing a global cessation of software development is, it's a canyon. It's not just a leap.
It really is.
Ashley Gold's breakdown of the logistics is remarkably sobering. She points out that while there are global consortiums for AI standards, places where international tech leaders and policymakers convene to discuss frameworks and safety guardrails.
People in suits sitting around big tables.
Exactly. The underlying architecture of these agreements is fundamentally hollow.
Here's where it gets really interesting. When you look at the landscape of AI development, you are looking at a classic geopolitical prisoner's dilemma operating on steroids.
Completely.
We have rival nations, specifically the United States and China, locked in an arms race where AI supremacy dictates the future of economic dominance, military logistics, and cyber warfare.
The stakes couldn't be higher.
They really couldn't.
Hmm.
If both sides agree to pause, theoretically, humanity buys time to build safety protocols. But if the U.S. pauses, and China secretly continues to funnel billions into autonomous AI research, or vice versa, the side that kept running wins the future entirely.
Yes.
Because there is zero trust and no omnipotent referee to enforce the pause, both actors are incentivized to keep accelerating, even if they both acknowledge the cliff ahead.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you see why international consortiums are practically powerless here. I mean, unlike nuclear proliferation, where international watchdogs can track the enrichment of uranium and the movement of physical centrifuges using satellites.
Right, you can see a physical facility being built.
Exactly, you can audit supply chains. But AI development is essentially invisible. It is code and mathematics processed on decentralized server farms.
Just blinking lights on a rack.
Yeah. A sovereign nation or a rogue corporate lab could be running massive training clusters in an underground bunker, and no international body would know until the model is actually deployed.
And Gold makes it explicitly clear in her reporting. These consortiums are entirely voluntary. There is no binding global treaty.
No.
There isn't even a unified United States law forcing domestic tech giants to comply with the training freeze. Google, Meta, OpenAI, Anthropic, they're all fiercely guarding their proprietary architectures.
It's cutthroat.
Even if they sit on the same safety boards, it is fiercely every company for themselves.
Yeah.
To think that a voluntary handshake agreement is going to pause a technology that promises to automate the global economy is dangerously naive.
It is. We are relying on an honor system to manage a technology that Anthropic themselves claim could escape human control.
An honor system for a trillion-dollar industry. Great.
Right. When the stakes involve trillion-dollar market caps on the corporate side and total geopolitical hegemony on the national side, asking everyone to voluntarily step away from the keyboard is an impossible request.
Yeah, nobody's doing that.
The incentive structures of modern capitalism and international relations simply do not possess a brake pedal for this kind of intangible asset.
So we have a terrifying technical threshold, a messenger with highly conflicted financial motives, and a complete lack of legal or logistical frameworks to actually enforce a pause.
It's a perfect storm.
It really is. And that forces a very uncomfortable timeline question.
How much time do we have?
Exactly. How much runway do we actually have
Right.
before we hit the point of no return? Before the AI learns to write its own upgrades?
The timeline cited in the ABC News piece is startling. Jack Clark, he's a co-founder of Anthropic, was quoted by Gold estimating when self-building AI could become a functional reality.
And what did she say?
Well, he isn't talking about a distant theoretical horizon. He isn't talking about decades from now.
Okay.
He explicitly states this is something that could happen in the next couple of years.
Next couple of years.
Yeah.
We are talking about current hardware cycles.
Yeah.
We are talking about the servers that are already being racked and wired right now.
Yeah.
But Gold highlights a crucial rhetorical pivot that Clark makes. He includes a massive caveat in his warning, stating that reaching this autonomous threshold is not inevitable.
Right. He makes a point of saying that.
He argues that if humanity collectively decides we don't want to cross this line, we can simply choose to slow down the research.
This raises an important question about the prevailing narrative in Silicon Valley. There is this pervasive culture of technological determinism.
Like it's just meant to happen.
Yeah, the idea that progress is an autonomous force of nature that simply happens to us. Tech leaders often present the evolution of AI as a tidal wave. They stand on the beach pointing at it, warning us to brace ourselves.
Right. It's coming. Get ready.
Exactly. But Ashley Gold's reporting punctures that myth. The companies issuing these warnings are the ones generating the wave.
They are making the water move.
Yes. The advancements aren't inevitable phenomena. They are the direct result of deliberate daily resource allocation and engineering decisions.
The messaging is incredibly frustrating. It's exactly like being strapped into the passenger seat of a car going 120 miles an hour.
Right. Oh, I've had that nightmare.
Right. And the driver is staring at you, wide-eyed, screaming over the engine noise, "We are going to crash." The crash is entirely inevitable, all while their foot is literally pinned to the gas pedal.
Yes, precisely.
They have the absolute power to lift their foot. They are the ones writing the recursive loops. They are the ones buying up the world's supply of GPUs.
But they don't lift their foot.
No. Yet they outsource the moral weight of slowing down to society. Like it's our fault for not stopping them.
That outsourcing of responsibility is a brilliant, albeit troubling, public relations strategy. By declaring that society needs to make a choice about slowing down, the developers of the technology distribute the blame for any future fallout.
Spreading the liability around.
Exactly, all while simultaneously keeping their own research pipelines flowing at maximum capacity to secure their market share. They ask for regulation and societal consensus, knowing full well that legislative bodies move at a glacial pace compared to software development.
Oh, a bill takes years to pass.
Exactly. By the time society even understands the question, the new model has already been deployed.
This is exactly why this ABC News interview is such a critical piece of the puzzle for you, the listener, to understand. It completely demystifies the aura around AI development.
It really pulls back the curtain.
We are constantly sold the story of a runaway train, but this deep dive reveals the people in the locomotive actively shoveling the coal.
Great way to put it.
The impending reality of an AI system that can self-generate its own architecture without human input is not magic, and it is not inevitable. It is the direct consequence of human choices made in highly capitalized boardrooms.
Recognizing the gap between the scale of the threat and the sheer frailty of our tools to manage it is vital here. We are standing on the precipice of autonomous machine intelligence, and the only guardrails we have are non-binding suggestions and the conflicting financial incentives of the very corporations building the machines.
So what does this all mean? Let's look at the totality of what we've uncovered today from Ashley Gold's reporting.
Let's do it.
We started with the sheer technical terror of an AI system shedding its human engineers, a model that can synthetically train itself and execute upgrades beyond our comprehension or control.
A truly alien intelligence.
Yeah. Then we unpacked the deeply tangled optics of Anthropic ringing the alarm bell, navigating the murky waters between acting as a genuine corporate whistleblower and making a highly calculated strategic play to freeze competitors out of a trillion-dollar market.
We examined the logistical impossibility of their proposed solution, too. A global pause fundamentally ignores the reality of the prisoner's dilemma, where rival nations and competing tech giants have zero incentive to voluntarily disarm in an invisible, code-based arms race.
It's all built on trust that doesn't exist.
Exactly. We have no international treaties, no domestic laws, and no satellite verification systems that can actually stop an algorithm from being trained.
And finally, we confronted the immediate timeline the next couple of years and dismantled the illusion of inevitability. The tech industry wants us to believe this future is a weather event we must endure, while they hold the absolute power to simply stop writing the code.
The overarching theme here is the collision of unprecedented technological capability with fundamentally flawed human incentive structures.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
The hardware and software are evolving exponentially, while our frameworks for trust, regulation, and cooperation remain entirely static.
Which leaves us with a critical, lingering thought for you to process. The leaders of this industry are telling us that we as a society need to decide to slow down this research.
Right.
But if the actual mechanism to hit the pause button doesn't exist in the hands of voters or in national legislation or in binding global treaties,
Which it doesn't.
if the only functional brake pedal is locked inside private corporate labs racing toward trillion-dollar valuations, what does it actually mean for society to make a choice? How do we pump the brakes on a car when we aren't even allowed in the driver's seat? Welcome to Virtual Protocol Podcast.